Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another live stream from AMS Live. My name is Boy. It's Friday morning. We're at the Polderbaan, Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. It's a cold morning, but sunny. Departures this morning taking off from Polderbaan. They are doing parallel departures, so there's also another runway in use for departures. It's just below freezing. There's icing everywhere, but there's no cloud in the distance, but it's almost cloudless. The airplane we see approaching over here, KLM 737, headed out to Helsinki in Finland. As you can see, there's still snow and ice on the runway. But as you can see, the sky is very clear. You can follow the airplane longer than the last time we were over here, when it was more hazy than today. Now let me have a look on flight radar, see if anything is coming up. We will start to see as my camera starts losing focus. Let me turn the camera around towards the main area. If any planes are taxiing over here, we will see them coming. So I can see on flight radar that there is a Dreamliner headed out this way, which will be departing to Bogota, Colombia. The PHBHH 787-900, which was delivered in August 2016. And I can also see that KLM 623, another Dreamliner, another 787-900, also from 2016, is taxiing this way, which will be departing to Atlanta. And behind that Dreamliner, I can see an Embraer 195 taxiing this way, which was delivered earlier this year and is scheduled to fly to Aarhus. So things are picking up. First up, and in our view on the left hand side, KLM 741, which will be departing to Bogota, Colombia. Ah, that's much better. We have the sun shining in our camera, in our view. So I modified the setting that compensates for that. I can see on the screen of my camera already that that is much better. Quite a spray of snow and ice that it leaves behind it. And away she goes to Bogota. It's going to make a left-hand turn after a few minutes, turning left to the North Sea. Meanwhile, behind me, the other Dreamliner is already lining up, so I am going to rotate the camera back to see it lining up. Seems to be getting a bit hazy. Meanwhile, the Embraer is also lined up. The 195 going to Aarhus. It's probably going to spool up any minute now, although it does have to wait for the wake turbulence of the Dreamliner to dissipate. You can see this is one of those newer Embraers with the higher bypass engines. You can see the diameter and the light shining through. There's only a small core in those engines. Basically, the rest is functioning like propeller, just moving air through that tunnel. It's pulling up. On its way to Aarhus. So this plane will make a turn to the right, perhaps. Maybe it will fly over the North Sea first. Could also be headed out to the left eventually. All right. Let me have a look at flight radar and see what's coming up. I can see that there is a 737 from Transavia headed this way, which is flying to Arvidsjaur. I have no idea where that is. Let me look that up. Never heard of that. Oh, it's in Sweden. Okay. Learned something new today. Okay, so we have the 737 from Transavia taxiing this way. You can see it on the left hand side of the screen. You can also already see KLM 1127, flight 1127 approaching, which is also a 737 from KLM, headed out to Copenhagen. So all the Scandinavian flights. There's also an A320 from EasyJet taxiing this way, which will be heading out to Manchester. So we do have some planes coming up. There's also a few in the de-icing department of the platform. So definitely something coming up. I can see that I have 2 viewers. Good morning. Welcome to AMS Live this morning. As you can see, we're at the Polderbaan. It's a cold morning, still below zero. Departures are taking off from Polderbaan this morning. There are parallel departures, but this is the main departure runway. Landing will be on the Kaagbaan. It's beautiful weather, albeit a bit chilly. And yeah, we're here for the morning rush hour, the departure rush hour. This is the Transavia 737, which is taking off to the hard to pronounce location in Sweden. The Transavia lining up at the beginning of the runway. Meanwhile, the next 737 is approaching the runway. So I'm going to turn around. KLM 737, and on the left hand side behind it, the what was it again? Oh yeah, it's the 319 to Manchester EasyJet. So this one is departing right in front of us. If you've just tuned in, you can see the spray that the airplane leaves behind it. The runway conditions are wintry, snow and ice. There's also a lot of icing on the roads here. Then again, it's cold in most of Europe at the moment. Still, over here with the sun shining, it's quite doable. Hardly any wind. Let me quickly go back to the Airbus. Let's rotate back, because in all silence, another plane lined up at the runway. Let's see, this is KLM 1485, 6-year-old airplane, Embraer 175, which is going to fly over the North Sea to England, to Humberside. So if I look to the right, I don't see any planes approaching just yet, so we can follow this plane a bit further. This plane now, of course, flying in northern direction, so in order for it to go to England, it's going to bank to the left to go to the west. This typically happens over the North Sea Canal. So that it minimizes the noise for people living in the area the plane flies over, the noise abatement. Okay, there is another plane taxiing this way, so I'm going to turn the camera towards the main platform area so that we can see it approach. And it is another Embraer. Let me quickly look at flight radar. This is KLM flight 1199, a 10-year-old plane, and it's going to fly to Stavanger, Scandinavian. You can also see that United 71 is taxiing this way. That's a 777, 25 years old. July 1997. Must have been one of the first triples to be delivered. Don't think that it was around much earlier. And it's flying to New York. So we'll be seeing it depart after this plane. Unless, of course, in the meantime, another one cuts the line. And we'll be departing after this plane. For now it seems number 2 to be number 2. Okay, although it is a small plane and the destination is not too far away, it is taxiing to the threshold of the runway. So it's probably going to rotate quickly. Meanwhile, another triple is taking off from the other runway. which you might hear in the background. Looks like a 300 if I glance at it quickly. This, of course, the downside of parallel departures. Had the same thing Monday when I was at the Kaagbaan, as you may or may not have seen, when there were also 2 runways in use. And you sometimes are not in luck with the traffic that is taking off in front of you. Let me rotate the camera towards the main platform area. I think our triple to New York is already visible. And what we saw departing was Vueling flight 6293, which is headed out to Rome. Okay, there are a lot of planes on the move, outbound. I'm just not sure yet which ones are going to taxi to the Polderbaan and take off in front of us. Right now the only thing I'm certain of is that United 71 is headed out this way. "25 years old, this plane." I see we have some more viewers. Welcome everybody. Welcome to AMS Live. As you can see, we are at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. We're at the beginning of the Polderbaan runway, which is the main departure runway this morning. As you can see, it's beautiful weather. Cold, but there are clear skies, it's beautiful. Bit chilly. Wintry conditions. Temperature still below 0. Although with the sun shining it feels warmer. Hardly any wind. There are parallel departures in progress, which means that if you look in this way to the platform, you will sometimes see planes departing in the background. But this is still the main departure runway today, at least this time of day. Taxiing this way is United 71, which will be flying to New York. And according to flight radar, this plane is 25 years old already, from 1997, the previous millennium. Let me quickly glance at flight radar to see if I can see other planes taxiing this way. So far I can only see one, an Airbus A220 from Air Baltic, which will be flying to Tallinn. New plane, 1 year old. There are other planes on the move, but thus far I'm unable to discern if they're taxiing this way or if they might be departing from the parallel runway. We'll have to see. For now, we can at least enjoy United 71, 777, 200, taxiing to the threshold of the Polderbaan to depart in northern direction. The Polderbaan being the newest of the runways of Schiphol Airport. Not sure exactly when it was built. I think it was around the millennium, maybe even before. I think even in the 90s, I'm not sure. It is the most distant, most remote runway from the main area, the main Schiphol area. So if you land over here or if you're departing from over here, you have, depending on of course from which gate you depart or to which gate you need to taxi, but you can typically expect a 10 to 15 minute taxi, one of the longest taxi distances in the world. You can see icy conditions, snow and ice being blown up by the engines and the airplane. There's some smoky engines. Something you don't see that much anymore with these newer fuel efficient engines. This is of course older technology. Let's turn around and focus in on the Airbus 220 to Tallinn from Air Baltic. While it is approaching, let me quickly look at flight radar, see what's coming next. Okay, I can see that the 777-200 from Amsterdam to Quito, South America, is also taxiing this way. Another oldie, 17 years old, the coming after this Airbus. This Airbus 220, of course, being a new plane, was delivered last year. Used to be Bombardier, then Airbus took it over. Personally, I think it's a very sleek aircraft. It's like an oversized business jet. Which I also think of the A350. Gorgeous plane. How about you guys? If there's anybody who wants to interact, drop a chat. What's your favorite aircraft? Let me know. Rolling start, so and away she goes. I'm going to turn around the camera because the next plane is already almost ready to line up. So this is the 777-200, 17 years old, departing to Quito. Also a rolling start. So this plane will most likely turn left eventually. Probably when it is above the North Sea Canal, which is the water that connects Amsterdam with the North Sea. That's typically the standard instrument departure for westbound planes flying to the United States or Canada or Mexico, which of course have to navigate towards Scotland first, so in the northwestern direction, to fly on one of the North Atlantic tracks over the Atlantic Ocean. So we can see a bank to the left already, and it's probably going to fly to Scotland first, depending on the winds. Could also be that the tracks are a bit more southern, which means that they might enter the track around Ireland, Shannon typically. Still a long way to Quito. Okay. Let me focus in on the main platform area and meanwhile have a look at flight radar and see if traffic is headed out this way. There is. I can see 3 planes at the moment taxiing towards our runway. First one being British Airways BA8496, which is also another Embraer, which will be flying to London City Airport. Behind it, I can see another Airbus 220 from Air Baltic, which will be going to Riga. And behind that, we have an A320 from Aer Lingus, which will be flying to Dublin. And we can see the first airplane arriving in our field of view, which is the Embraer from British Airways flying to London City. This plane delivered in April 2012, so this is a 10-year-old airplane. The Airbus 220 behind it is, which is of course a new type of airplane, is not so old, 3 years old, from March 2019. And the Aer Lingus Airbus 320, which is coming eventually as number 3, is 18 years old, so was delivered in June 2004. For now that's it, but I can see a lot of movement on the platform. Many planes are also in the de-icing department, which is just out of our view. While one of the Schiphol Scarecrows, the bird controllers, was driving through our field of view, making sure that there are no flocks of birds around the runway area to prevent bird strikes. So yeah, we'll have to see what comes next after those 3 airplanes, but for now there are 3 aircraft headed this way. The first one, the Embraer from British Airways. We see the Air Baltic 220 also coming. Can we see number 3 already? Not yet. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so those are all headed out this way. Okay, so it would seem that the Air Baltic 220 is taking off first. Let me quickly turn around the camera. So this is the 17-year-old Aer Lingus 320 headed out to Dublin. The runway slowly but gradually gets cleaner and cleaner with each departure. I am a little bit confused. I thought that we also were going to see an Embraer to London City. I think it might be departing from the other runway. We are having another aircraft approaching. Let me see. Where is this? Let me quickly have a peek at flight radar. Is this the... Ah, okay. So for some reason the other two airplanes departed first, and for whatever reason this Embraer from British Airways is still waiting. Meanwhile, I can see that we have a cargo 777 taxiing this way, while another 777 was taking off to Cape Town in the background, as you can see. The triple I was talking about from China Southern Cargo, 13 years old, will be heading to Guangzhou. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly, or at least somewhat correct. Not sure why the Embraer is waiting. If anybody has heard something on the ATC, drop a comment, let me know. It does seem to be resuming taxiing now, or yeah, it does. It is resuming its taxi. Meanwhile, the 777 from China Southern is also approaching on the right side in our view. I can also see that an Airbus A330 from Delta Airlines is headed out this way, departing to Minneapolis. Relatively new airplane. It is, although it is a 300, it is 5 years old, this plane. And behind it, by the looks of it, we will be seeing a Dash 8 from Flybe to London Heathrow. So there are 4 aircraft underway, the first one being the Embraer on the left to London City. So let me go back to the camera, make sure that you guys can see it as well. Okay, so no idea why it was taking a break during the taxi. Maybe they wanted to take some pictures of the winter view, but most likely it was something else. Okay, let me turn around because the triple from China Southern is also in view quite nicely, which will probably be taxiing to the threshold of the runway. For those of you who might have just tuned in, welcome to the stream. Welcome to AMS Live. My name is Boy. It's a Friday morning. We're at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, Polderbaan, where departures are taking off. There are parallel departures in progress, which means that we don't get to see all of the departing traffic at the moment. However, this is the main runway for departures this morning. And a lot of the big jets will be departing from this runway, although not all. You can see it's beautiful weather. The sun is out, there's almost no clouds. It's around freezing, just below I think still. Wintry conditions also on the roads, a lot of icing. Walking towards the spot I'm standing at this morning, I had to be careful not to fall, as the roads were icy. But then again, it's the time of year and most of Europe is quite cold at the moment. Lots of spray. And away she goes. Right, I'm going to turn around because the Delta A330 is also approaching. You can see it's a bit hazy. A lot of the ice on grass and other items slowly evaporating through the sunlight and the warmth. There's hardly any wind at the moment, so no wind to blow it all away. Let me quickly look at flight radar. We have several planes approaching. Don't have enough time to look at all the details. Otherwise I'll be missing this one. There's definitely more planes coming up. The Dash 8 in the background. So the 330 will be turning left shortly. Also headed out to the North Atlantic tracks. Let me turn around the camera. There is a lot of action at the moment. You can see an Airbus from British Airways. We have another Embraer in the background. There is another 737, and first we should be seeing the Dash 8 from Flybe taking off, which, being small as it is, we'll have to wait for the wake turbulence of the 330 to dissipate before taking off. Otherwise, it's going to have a rough takeoff. So yeah, there it goes. I always find it amazing that those engine bays have enough room to absorb such a main landing gear and also have the turboprop engine in the same area. let's turn around, see what's next. We have one plane already lined up. There's also one approaching on the left. Not sure which one will be taking off first. I think the one lined up and in view. Yeah. So we have this plane. On the left we have another plane. And we also have one waiting here. I can hear this one already taking off. Let me quickly turn around. The plane on the left from SAS is looking to depart. Probably a rolling takeoff. Yep, it's pulling up. Tempo in which these planes are departing doesn't allow me the time to have a look at flight radar and see all the details, like where they're headed out to or the age of the plane. Sorry for that. I also like to give that information if I can. But the rush hour is picking up, as you can see. Let me quickly turn around. The next plane is already lined up and is already taking off. Action is almost non-stop at the moment. You could see in the background just now that there was an A330. So let me turn around. Focus on that one. This being one of the new models with the high bypass engines. Don't know where it's headed out to, but most likely somewhere in the United States, so it is going to turn left shortly. As there are no other planes approaching, let's see if we can at least follow the 330 until it's made its turn. So typically these northwest bound planes bank to the left once they have reached the North Sea Canal, which if you look on the map of the Netherlands is north of Schiphol and is connecting Amsterdam with the North Sea. And you can see it beginning to turn right now. Of course, these routes are all thought out to create the least sound for people living in the area. Right. Let me turn the camera around towards the main platform area and have a look at Flight Radar, see if anything is coming up. Okay, I can see that there is a Airbus A320 which is departing to Bristol, headed out this way and lining up at the other runway for a parallel departure is another A220 from Air Baltic, which will be departing to Vilnius. For now, that's all the traffic in the vicinity. I do see that Delta 135, another A330, headed out to Detroit, was in the de-icing area. It seems to be taxiing away from that right now. So there's a chance, because it's a western destination, that it's going to taxi to this runway. We can already see the EasyJet to Bristol in the distance, taxiing this way. There's also another Airbus A319 from British Airways to London Heathrow, which may or may not taxi this way. Not sure yet. We'll have to see. I see that we have a couple of new viewers. So good morning, those of you who just tuned in. My name is Boy. This is AMS Live, and we're at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport on this Friday morning. We're at the beginning of the Polderbaan, which is the main departure runway today. There are parallel departures taking place at the moment, so not all of the traffic, unfortunately, is going to be departing in front of us. It's a beautiful sunny day, hardly any clouds, just a few in the distance. It's around freezing, or just below. Although with the sun shining it doesn't feel that cold. There's hardly any wind. And we're here to have a look at the morning departure rush hour. So this Airbus heading to Bristol is 3 years old. The British Airways A319 to Heathrow is in fact taxiing this way. I think the same goes for the A330 from Delta, flight 135, which will be going to Detroit. For now, there's just this plane, but there are others underway. Still some snow and ice getting blown up by the engines, though not as much anymore as earlier this morning. So this plane too now flies in northern direction. For those of you who don't watch along with flight radar. So this plane will take the same left-hand turn once it reaches the North Sea Canal to go to England across the North Sea. I'm looking to my right. There are no planes approaching yet, so let's just follow this plane a bit further. It's probably going to bank to the left any minute now. There it goes. You can just see by how long we can follow this plane that it is a very clear sky at the moment. No significant weather. Oh dear. I think... Was that one of the planes I thought? No, that's a Qatar Airways, triple departing. For a moment I was afraid that one of the planes that I thought was heading out to this runway departed from the other runway, but this is another airplane altogether. By the looks of it, Qatar Airways 777, cargo 777. So, taxiing this way at the moment is British Airways flight 431, an Airbus A319, 21 years old, from May 2001, and it is bound for London Heathrow. And on the right, entering our view shortly, will be Delta Airlines 135, which is an Airbus A330-300, 7 years of age, delivered in June 2015, which will be flying to Detroit. Don't see any other planes on flight radar just yet. but there are bound to be more. Meanwhile, we can see both planes in view. The British Airways Airbus taxiing to the beginning of the runway, and the A330 to Detroit, which will probably also do the same. Can't remember having seen big jets taking off from the entrance just in front of us where we're standing. A lot of Airbus A330s. Last Monday when I was streaming from the Kaagbaan for departures, it was also A330 galore. So let's turn around. Off to London Heathrow. Also smoky engines, like the triple from 1997 we saw departing earlier this morning. You can definitely tell that engine technology has progressed. Let me quickly turn around the camera because the A330 is also already lining up. If my camera is able to get it into focus again. Don't know why. Right. Let's see what's next. I think it might take a few minutes before another plane will be approaching. Let me have a look at Flight Radar and see what's coming. Well, actually, I don't see anything approaching at the moment. Do see two planes at the de-icing area. Let me have a look and see where they're headed out to. The KLM City Hopper flight 1445 will be departing to Aberdeen, so that's probably going to be taxiing towards the current runway where we're standing at. KLM 567, which is a Dreamliner, one of the longest that we have in the KLM fleet, the 787-10, also brand new, flying to Kilimanjaro. So I don't think that we will be seeing that one depart from the runway we're standing at. It's most likely going to take the other runway and then bank to the right, because it has to go to Africa, more eastbound. And typically when there's dual runway usage, westbound traffic is departing from Polderbaan and eastbound traffic is departing from the other parallel runway. So unfortunately I don't think we will be seeing the flight to Kilimanjaro. Hopefully I'm wrong, of course. There is one airplane taxiing this way, by the looks of it. An Airbus A319 from SAS in the Star Alliance livery, which is a 15-year-old plane departing for Oslo, Norway. So that's on its way over here. It's going to take a few more minutes before we will be seeing it in our view. Not sure yet what will be the next plane to head out this way. There's still a lot of traffic on the platform, so there's definitely more underway. I can also see a 777 from KLM to Johannesburg. Also an awesome plane to see departing, but Johannesburg, like the Kilimanjaro, or Kilimanjaro I should say, it's also a destination in Africa. Typically those planes depart eastbound, southeast bound. So I don't think we will be seeing it depart from the Polderbaan. Meanwhile, one of the Kivits, the Schiphol Scarecrows, or the bird controllers as they're officially called, is also making its round, making sure that the platform area stays safe, both for the birds and for the airplanes. The steel birds, or composite birds, most new airplanes of course. So these bird controllers, as you can hear, set off fireworks. They have flare guns and whatnot. What I also saw some time ago when I was watching a movie, a YouTube clip about the work that these guys do, they also have noises from predator birds that they can sound. As you can see, this controller is setting off some fireworks in the meantime, even though it's not yet New Year's Eve. But I found it ingenious that they can also sound noises of birds of prey, natural enemies of the birds that are flocking around Schiphol, to chase them away. Very important work, of course, what these people do. In the meantime, our first next plane is coming, which is the SAS A319 of 2007, which is going to Oslo, and in the background we will see depart Austrian flight 989 to Frankfurt. Which will be banking right shortly. Frankfurt, of course, not a distant destination, only a few hundred kilometers. So this plane will probably touch down at its destination in 40-50 minutes or so, depending on how crowded, how busy the airport is. In the meantime, the SAS Airbus is also approaching. I can hear it. We already saw it. There it is. Has the sunglasses look like the A350 also has, and the Airbus 220s. This plane too seems to be rather smoky, looking at the exhaust trails that you can clearly see. You can also even see them curl up a little bit due to the vortices. Meanwhile, let me see if I can get it in our view. Yeah. We have another departure from the other runway. Is this an A350? Cannot tell for sure. Does seem to be the case. Or was that the plane to Kilimanjaro? Wasn't able to tell the airliner. It does reflect nicely in the sunlight. Right. We are experiencing some slowing down of traffic headed out to the Polderbaan. I can see that there is traffic underway. An Airbus A330 from KLM, which is flying to a destination aviation fans will probably know from the YouTube videos, Sint Maarten. Of course, the destination where those big jets fly just a few meters over the beach, and when they take off, they blast all the people at the beach into the water and give them a face peel for free. So, meanwhile, departing KLM A330, 777-300 to Johannesburg. While we wait for the next plane to depart from this runway. The plane, of course, making a 180 turn, or almost 180 turn, taking off in northern direction, now having turned back to southeastern direction. Probably just west of Amsterdam city area, going south. Meanwhile, if I take a quick peek to the right, I do see another jet taxiing to the Polderbaan, and my camera is having a bit difficulty to keep focus while the plane already is so far away. The next plane coming this way, we can see it's the A330 from KLM to Sint Maarten. This plane from October 2005, also relatively old. Behind it is the KLM from Amsterdam to Aberdeen. On the right in our view, also taxiing this way, an Embraer 190, 14 years old already. There's a few heavies at the icing area. Not sure yet which ones will be taxiing this way or will be taking off from the other runway. The 330 on the left will probably taxi to the beginning of the runway. So it's going to turn left and taxi to the right. Meanwhile, Another plane took off from the other runway. Another Dreamliner. That's probably the 787-10. I didn't monitor traffic to the other runway closely, but I think it's the 787-10. And another plane. Okay, let's have a look. The A330 is about to enter our view. We have the KLM to Aberdeen. I think we also have a Dreamliner taxiing this way. That is another 787-10 to Panama. All those big jets still produce a lot of wind. You can still see a lot of ice and snow particles being blown up as it rotates. Wintry conditions, of course, in the Netherlands today, as in most of Europe. But the sun is out, there's hardly any wind. Even though the temperature is below zero or just around zero, it's not too cold. Let's turn around the camera. Even though the wake turbulence of the Airbus still has to dissipate. It will probably take off shortly. Meanwhile, I can see that the Dreamliner 787-10 flight 757 from KLM to Panama City is also coming along nicely. We'll have to see what comes after that. Lights are on. And away she goes. Meanwhile, the Dreamliner is also taxiing this way. So let me turn around the camera and focus on it. So this Dreamliner to Panama City is new-ish from May 2020. There is a CRJ from SAS coming after that. Not sure yet what the plane following it will be. We'll see. There's definitely still action on the platform. It's always a bit of a gamble to predict which ones will be heading out to this runway and which will depart from the other runway currently in use. So this is a 787-10, the biggest yet in the fleet of KLM. It's probably going to taxi to the threshold of the runway. So the CRJ is also taxiing this way, and I can see that there is another A320 headed out to Helsinki, also coming this way. So for now, this is the last wide body. At least in the next few minutes. Let's see what comes after that, after this departure. And there it is. Like a phoenix rising from its own clouds. So I'm turning around the camera. The CRJ is also already lined up. Let me have a quick glance at flight radar in the meantime. So there is the 321 to Helsinki coming after this CRJ. After that, cannot say for sure. CRJ, one of the few airplanes that you can see coming to Schiphol, taking off from Schiphol, that still have the engines mounted to the fuselage. Most, of course, have them hanging from the wings, like the Finnair that we see over here. So this is a Finnair A321, which is going to Helsinki in Finland, of course. Another chilly destination. I think parts of Scandinavia these days don't see temperatures above -20 Celsius during the day. Don't know exactly how much that is in Fahrenheit for those of you who are used to those. But if 0 Celsius is 32 Fahrenheit, which I do happen to know, then it's probably low tens, perhaps? Not sure. Cold at least, that's for sure. So yeah, after this plane, I don't see anything approaching just yet. We'll have to see what comes next. Still clear skies. We can follow the airplanes quite long this morning until the camera loses focus. So I'm not sure yet what is going to be coming next. We do see the Schiphol Scarecrow in the distance patrolling. If I look at flight radar, I don't yet see anything approaching just yet. There is a lot of activity on the platform still. Let's see, there's an EasyJet flying to Nice. I'm not sure if that's going to be departing from this runway. There is KLM Cityhopper Embraer 190 to Cork. That is probably going to be coming this way once it's finished with de-icing. There is an Airbus A350 from China Airlines headed out to Taipei. That's an eastbound destination, so that's probably going to be taking off from the other runway after it's been de-iced. So we'll have to wait a little longer before anything is coming this way. Still a lot of outbound planes on flight radar on the platform. So rush hour is definitely not over yet, but we are experiencing a moment of peace and quiet. You see some activity in the distance. But nothing approaching just yet. Although I do see, I think we have another A330 coming this way. Delta Airlines 73 is now making the corner, just turning around the corner of the other runway. So it's going to taxi this way. So yet another A330, unfortunately. It's a bit of a repetition. A lot of A330s this morning. Delta Airlines to Atlanta, 15-year-old plane. Meanwhile, the EasyJet A319 to Nice is taking off. Which we see over here. Some A320s taking off from the other runway. Delta Airlines 73 is taxiing this way should be entering our view on the right hand side any moment now. Hey. Yeah? Ja, prima. Ja, ja, tuurlijk, geen probleem. Hi, boy. AMS live. Thanks. Yeah, thank you. So we're joined by Bart from V1 Aviation, who's also going to go live in a few minutes. Yeah.
It's no problem for you if I'm going to stand over there?
No, by all means. Yeah, sure, of course.
Thank you so much.
Sure, man. Thanks, man. You too. Yeah, so don't forget, V1 Aviation is taking over from me in a few minutes. He will be also broadcasting in a minute. I'm not sure how long I'm going to stay around for today. We are definitely going to see Delta 73 take off, which is now entering our view. So this Airbus A330-300 is 15 years old, January 2007, another oldie. And there is some more traffic underway, finally. KLM 1085 to Cork. There's also a Transavia going to Porto. So no more big jets just yet. There is another A330 from Delta Airlines also taxiing this way, headed out to Boston. So we definitely have some more airplanes coming up. The first of which is this A330. Nee hoor.
Zeker?
Nee hoor, je staat niet in de weg. Zeker. Bart was just checking if his setup was not in the way in our field of view. Which he isn't, as you can see. Okay, we have some more airplanes coming. So there's one already lined up, a second one behind it, and number 3 is also approaching. So traffic is definitely picking up. The next Embraer is already lined up. And it's also departing already. Let's quickly turn around the camera. It's starting to get busy. Meanwhile, we can see the A330 from Delta approaching, and behind it we see an Airbus 320 from EasyJet. Let me quickly have a glance at flight radar. So again, the 330 is Delta 259 heading to Boston, and we see the EasyJet A320 which will be going to Copenhagen. Meanwhile, we can see that the A330 is cleaning up the taxiway a little bit. But it seems that the 320 will be going ahead first. So let's quickly turn around the camera. Probably going to make a rolling start. Okay, the A330 is already taking off. No time to waste. So we have two more planes coming up at the moment. First of all, there is the Airbus A320 from EasyJet. Where is it? There it is. And there's also another Embraer coming this way. I'm sorry, that's a 737. Let me quickly have a look at flight radar. So the EasyJet A319 is going to Edinburgh. The 737 to Copenhagen. And behind it is another Embraer, which will be departing to Bergen. But first, the EasyJet already rolling. Next one already taking off. This being the smallest of the 737s. You could see how short the fuselage was compared to the 8 and 900 models. Meanwhile, we do see a little bit more cloudiness in the background. Still mostly clear blue sky today. So that was the last plane for a few seconds now, but there is another Embraer heading out this way from KLM to Billund, and it's approaching as we speak. There it is. So it's a bit quiet. I do see yet another A330 crossing the other runway. Meanwhile, the Embraer from KLM is also in view. the Delta Airlines 330 is flight 49 taking off to JFK. The Embraer we see in the foreground is going to be flying to Billund. There's another Embraer following it, following the A330. And there's also a Ryanair 737 heading out to Dublin, approaching in a few moments. First up, the Embraer. Meanwhile, we see the A330 approaching from Delta. Yet another A330. I think we might also see another Dreamliner heading out this way. Flight radar says that United 908 to Chicago is also taxiing this way. After the two planes we saw just now on the left hand side, there is another 737 from Ryanair coming this way first to Dublin. But we are in fact going to see another Dreamliner 787-10, no less. Brand new. Delivered in October this year. I think we might be seeing it in the background, in fact, behind the Embraer. Meanwhile, I see that there are a lot more viewers for the stream, so good day to you all. We are at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, the Polderbaan, which you might recognize or already figure out by now. Departures are taking place from this runway. This is the main departure runway. There are parallel departures taking place. And for those of you just tuning in, as you can see, there are wintry conditions here in the Netherlands. It's just around freezing, if not just a little below. So there's a lot of icing and snow on the roads. It's slippery, but it is sunny, not a lot of wind. As the A330 spools up. In the meantime, the next plane is heading out this way. This is the Dreamliner 787-10 from United. It is flying to Chicago in a few minutes. It's a brand new plane, delivered in October this year. But first we see an EasyJet A320 taking off, which is already lined up and ready to go. Ready to go, but not yet going. Have a look at that. These things are huge. So let's turn around. The Dreamliner is lining up. Flying to JFK. 6-hour flight. So after this plane takes off, which is in northern direction, it's going to bank to the left eventually to head out to United Kingdom, probably Scotland, northwest, where we'll be going across the ocean on one of the North Atlantic tracks. The highways in the sky, of course, that regulate the traffic between the United States and Europe, where no ATC and radar is. So everything is organized in virtual highways, so to speak. But you guys probably already know this. Sam from Wendover Productions made an interesting video about the North Atlantic tracks. If it's new subject matter to you and you would like to know more about it, highly recommend that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to turn the camera because it's the first Airbus A350 of this morning that we will be seeing depart from over here, from China Southern. After all the A330s and the occasional 777, it's good to have some variation. So while the plane is lining up, let me have a look at flight radar. This is China Southern 308. This aircraft is 3 years old and it's going to Guangzhou, if I pronounce that correctly. Still creating a cloud of ice, snow and water when it rotates, but you can clearly see that the runway is drying up. Cloud spray is not as dense anymore as it was earlier this morning. So this plane off to China, so eventually it's going to bank to the right. I have to say I was a little bit surprised to see that an aircraft headed out to China was going to take off from this runway, since we have parallel departures in place. Normally speaking, westbound traffic is the only traffic, or at least eastbound traffic normally departs from the easternmost runway. I think we might have another 777 coming up, 777-200 from United. Flight 21 to Houston. Another old aircraft, 23 years old. Mima in the distance. An Embraer 175 to Frankfurt takes off. Another short flight. Frankfurt is approximately 400 kilometers from Amsterdam, so haha. Matthijs writes, that there are 2 other streams live at Schiphol at the moment. One at Kaagbaan and also one over here. Well, the one over here is Bart from V1 Aviation, who's just a few meters to the left of me. Don't know who the people are who are currently at the Kaagbaan. But yeah, it's a good day to do some live streaming, of course. Good morning, West Creek. Also watching from St. Thomas, Ontario, Canada. Cold there as well too. Well, isn't it always cold in Canada in the winter? End of January I will be going to Japan and I will be watching the stream Osaka and Okinawa. Oh, Japan is a beautiful country. I've been there once. Went to Japan to Tokyo for a week. It was awesome. If you've never been, I can highly recommend going to Japan at least once in your life. It's like Lost in Translation. Apart from the most touristy areas, they don't speak any English, so you're bound by communicating with hands and feet. But it's beautiful. It's they're also extremely polite. Really worthwhile going. I'll definitely be going back again to see the rest of the country. Of course, Tokyo is only just one part of it. So we're waiting for the next plane to come. United 21 is underway. The 777 from 1999 headed out to Houston. Don't yet see anything coming after that. There is a lot of traffic outbound. Just not yet sure which ones will be going in this direction or will be taking off from another the other parallel runway currently in use. Meanwhile, I see A320 that is taking off on the parallel runway. There it is. Meanwhile, we have the 777 approaching. Just entered our line of sight. Let me quickly have a look at Flight Radar. While in the background, another Embraer to Munich took off. So we have some planes that are taxiing this way, but we don't know yet whether they'll be going to this runway or the other runway in use. We at least have another A330 from Delta Airlines heading to Portland underway, but it's still Not sure yet if it's going to go to the de-icing platform first. If that's the case, then it first has to go through de-icing first. So nothing immediately following this 777 just yet. I think we might have a 737 from KLM to Manchester approaching. Other than that, it seems to be a bit quiet for now. But we'll see. So there's two 777 from the previous millennium. An oldie from 1999. There is another plane. No, it's first going. Meanwhile, bird controllers patrolling, making sure that these planes can take off safely without crashing into any birds, or at least minimize the chance of that. With flare guns at their disposal and also sound effects, which I didn't know until recently. Noises of birds of prey, natural enemies of the birds that flock around the platform area, so they get scared away just by hearing the supposed birds of prey. Not yet sure what's more effective. I mean, a flare gun and a loud bang definitely scares a lot of birds. Always a little puff of dust when the wheels of the main landing gear get stopped by the brakes before fully retracting. Always some brake dust that you see puff out of the wheels at that moment. From what I understand, they do that because spinning wheels also exert some force on the landing gear, and that's probably not good for the airplane. But I'm no physicist, so if anybody knows this better than I do, please chime in. This plane, of course, heading to the United States, so this too will be banking to the left to probably go, and it's already banking, as you can see, to go to Scotland probably, or Ireland, and from there enter the North Atlantic tracks. Meanwhile, we have another plane taxiing towards the runway, the threshold. 737 from KLM. Let me pan the camera ahead so that I have some time to look at flight radar, see what's coming up next. The 737 we see taxiing is departing to Manchester, and we can also see that another 777 is taxiing this way. KLM flight 719, 777-200, 15 years of age, out of 2007, which will be flying to San Jose. Right, let me turn the camera around so that we don't miss the triple taxiing this way. So after this triple, there's another A330 taxiing this way, which should be coming around the corner on the right hand side of our view any minute now, which is departing for Portland. Six years old. First, of course, the 777 we see taxiing in front of us right now. This plane again, 15 years old, going to San Jose. In all its glory. So we have the Delta A330 taxiing to the threshold of the boulder-bound runway where we're currently at. There's also another Embraer coming this way. And in the background we saw another Embraer taking off. So the Embraer we are currently looking at will be flying to Hamburg, 13 years of age. And I wouldn't be surprised if this one gets the go-ahead before the A330. Since the smaller plane will have to wait for the bigger plane's wake turbulence to dissipate before it can take off, and the A330 will not be affected as much by wake turbulence of a relatively small plane, such as the Embraer. But I seem to be wrong about this, as the 330 is already lining up and the Embraer is taxiing ahead. So this one is taking off first. An almost visceral roar as it passes by. You can almost feel it in your chest, the rumble. So this plane too, off to the United States, so going to bank to the left eventually. Let's quickly turn around. The Embraer is also ready, but it will have to wait for the wake turbulence to dissipate. Let me quickly have a look at Flight Radar, see if anything is coming up after that. It doesn't seem to be the case, so I think I might also stop with today's live stream after this plane has taken off. Okay. Folks, I might have to stick around just a little bit longer. Have to wait and see. There is one particular plane that I wouldn't want to miss if it were taking off from this runway. Cathay Pacific Cargo 747, the Queen of the Skies, 800, one of the new types. But since Frankfurt is to the east, I'm afraid that it might not be going this way, and it seems to be already lining up for the other runway. So I will try to follow it as it takes off. Meanwhile, there's an Embraer coming this way from KLM to Oslo. I'm going to stick with the 747. Try to get it in view. And after that, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to end today's stream. There are several people currently streaming from Schiphol, is what I was told. So if you want to keep following the action, there are definitely other people also currently broadcasting. I can hear the 747 spool up. So let me see when it enters our view, if we can track it a bit. Cathay Pacific 747-800. On its way to Frankfurt. Don't get to see the 747s as often anymore today, unfortunately. Of course, they're still in use for cargo. Same holds for the MD-11s that you also don't see that much anymore. Tri-engines are also a rarity in general. So this plane is probably going to turn to the right any moment now, as it needs to turn from heading north as it is now towards the southeast. Right. Okay, there is another 777 coming this way to Lima, flight 743. And in the meantime, in the foreground, okay, so there's always another plane coming, but this is definitely one worth sticking around for, 777. But this will be the last plane of the day for today's stream, ladies and gentlemen. This 777 from KLM. Let me have a look at flight radar for you. It's headed out to Lima. It's 777-300 extended range. 5 years old. Was delivered in September 2017. Here you can see its full length. Magnificent airplane. GE90 engines, of course, second to none. Although I do think that the engines of the 320neo sound very similar. If you close your eyes and you listen to the sound, it's almost like there's a 777 coming up, only in a smaller package. So this plane off to Lima, South America. It's probably going to fly to Spain first, to the Canary Islands, and then cross over to Brazil, where the ocean is the narrowest, relatively speaking. Look at the spray. Mighty engines. All right. Right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it for my stream today. Thank you all so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure having you all with me today. If you liked what you saw and you haven't done so already, please consider giving this stream a thumbs up. If you want to stay updated of upcoming streams, don't forget to subscribe. I will be back with another stream soon. Take care for now. Thank you all for joining me. Have a nice day and see you guys soon.